Well, let's talk a little bit about the points. Eric, you guaranteed a top 10 finish right now, sitting in that that 3 spot. That is just 1 spot below that do or done line. You want to tell Mike what he can do with that?
Do or done. You know, we should have and could have had a better weekend last weekend, but the fact that we thought we were going to have Greg second round, and you take no competitor lightly by any means, I'm not saying that at all, but when he went out first round, we had quite the celebration in our pit. We thought maybe it might be our day because, you know, when it's your day, you can't screw things up. So Curtis ended that for us in the semifinals.
Yeah,
but
what happened there? Where did Kurt come from all of a sudden? He sure is running gangbusters.
He is. He's running really well. They've been working really hard at it, and they deserve it. But I'm going to fight tooth and nail for this deal until the very end, and so are my guys. It's very important to us. We've worked very hard for it, and, you know, it means the world to all of us. So game on.
And, Erica, you have got legions of fans supporting you and all that. Thanks for spending the time with us.
I follow her on Twitter. Absolutely. I do as of today.
Cool.
As of about 35 minutes ago, right, Dave?
12:45.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys.
Greg Stanfield and Warren Johnson, and they both make a move that puts them into the top half of the field. Up in that position 11 and 12, not top half, but in the top 12 that will transfer if there is to be sessions on Saturday, and at the moment that's kind of up in the air. And we take you back up to the line. That's Ron Krischer right there, the Valvoline car. Got a big name on it. That's usually how Mike tells. And Shane Gray is over on the other side. Now, Shane was a DNQ first time in his career at Dallas. Ron Krischer, second driver to lose on a hole shot in the first round at Dallas. He lost out to Ronnie Humphrey. Ronnie had a 002 light, too.
Ron Krischer in that first session had kind of a handful, as we'll see at the end. He had the right front tire actually go flat, riding on the rim there at the end. I mean, it was pretty interesting to watch and see. And then whenever he pulled it down, you actually see right there it goes. And, you know, Mike, you can see that right front dip down when the tire goes flat, and it makes it want to turn to the right. So he did a pretty good job of being able to hang on to that thing.
Yeah, he did a good job, but I got to believe a lot of what caused that was the fact that the chute didn't deploy, and he got on the brakes pretty hard and probably put that tire down. But like you said, Johnny did a really nice job of keeping that car straight.
Well, neither one is in the top 12. Shane is closest at 13th. Krischer is at 15th. Shane gets it down there with a 6:59, 209 miles an hour, no change. But how about Ron Krischer's 6:58, 209? That moves him up into 9th and in to the top half. Well, look at this. Here is V Gaines, and there is KJ. Kurt Johnson. He's been kind of quiet just there most of the season. Didn't make it into the top 10 for the playoff, but then he catches fire.
Yeah, first 16 races, he won 18% of his round race, and last two, 88%. That's based on a win and a runner-up. If he was in the countdown to the championship, he probably would be above that do-or-done line, or pretty darn close. So
points-wise, he'd be up in second.
Yeah, I mean, if he just would have finished 10th and just got into it. But he's been doing a fantastic job. I talked with Kurt back in Brainerd. They built this new Jerry Haas car, and they built it different from their old car. It was it was a little bit looser, and he just said it took a while to get used to it. And I asked him, I said, have you ever ran one before? He said, yeah, we used to run one. It's not that big of a deal, but we're making more horsepower. We made changes now, and now we just got to find out what it likes. He says, I know it's going to be better. Once we get it figured out, we just got to make more laps on it. And obviously he was right, because this thing's really running well right now.
On back-to-back finals. Won Charlotte over Jason Line. Lost to him last week at Dallas.
And, you know, from one of my tweets, as us veteran Twitter users call our followers tweets, this is from GTO Girl, and she wants to know, guys, do you think the unexpected will happen this weekend? And by that she means an underdog, like we saw with Kurt Johnson 2 weeks ago winning a race.
Fellas, what do you think?
Mike?
Oh, it can definitely happen. I mean, The thing is, when the conditions are good, a lot of times, we even talked about it last week in Dallas, especially in the fuel cars, you know, the great equalizer is when it's hot out. When it's cool out, then it's just like the cream usually rises to the top. Now, obviously, Kurt won this weekend. It wouldn't be an upset, but, you know, it's usually a performance situation and horsepower situation when the weather conditions are like they are now.
But, you know, you look back at Charlotte, and we had great weather conditions there, and Kurt, who actually told me during that day after he won in the second round that they'd finally remembered how to race again. You know?
Guys, I got to go to the stats on this one, especially in the funny car class. Recent winners, Cruz Pedregon, Matt Hagan, Tim Wilkerson, and Ron Capps all took almost a year to get their first race win. Now, there's a trend in funny car. Bob Tasca, of anybody, is overdue. Not as much in Pro Stock. I think Pro Stock will be less of a surprise by the domination of the KB cars, but in funny car, it's been wild.
Well, we talked a little bit about this earlier. This is the 5th version of the countdown, and you got to start wondering if teams, Mike, aren't maybe racing a little different. We have testing limitations that come into play. We have a regular season that resets the points. So, you know, does that play to that trend at all, do you think?
Well, there's a whole different strategy with the countdown. I mean, it definitely changes everything from the way you used to approach it. Now, a lot of teams, although not so much lately, but they would test going into the countdown once they knew they were solidly in there. But a lot of teams found out that that wasn't always a good thing because you would lose some momentum. You know, we talked about peaking at the right time. So a lot of teams, they may test maybe before they get to the final races of the countdown because they want to have everything together.
Hello. Yeah, this is something new,
Hello.
Kurt. Hi, I'm Paul Page, the ESPN. How are you? Oh, we're good. We're on ESPN 3 right now, so I know it's a bit of a surprise. Sorry to do it that way.
ESPN 3, I can't count that high.
You guys are always working. You never see the show.
Well, at least it's not ESPN 14. Which
At least it's not ESPN 8, the Ocho.
So, back-to-back finals. New car is good. You guys got it figured out.
Well, yeah, we did in Z-Max, runner-up in Dallas there. You know, we're pretty pumped. You pull through that gate in Dallas, and if they give you a runner-up card, I'm sure everybody would have took that right there. But, you know, this is a different race. We run a 59. It takes a 54 to be low, and this total CLX-Line GXP with Redline helping us. It takes money to run this thing, and that's what we're looking for over the winter, so we want to go out with a blast this winter.
Well, Kurt, this is Mike Dunn. When you talked about that new car, I talked with you a few races back, and you said you knew it was going to be better, just a matter of getting it worked out. Now, I know you probably can't tell me exactly what you did, but what has been the biggest change that you had to make to get this thing to turn around, or at least in what area?
Well, it's just a combination there, Mike. I had an 03 Cavalier that thing would go down a dirt road, a little bit flexible chassis, and we just had to figure out where to put the ballast. This car's got 60 more pounds of ballast on it. We had to figure out where to put it, and hopefully you got it in the right place on Sunday. That's all that matters.
So that's been the biggest difference, getting the weight balance on the car?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got to balance the weight, the clutch, the shocks, the 4-link. It's not just one thing, and this car's been totally different. And it was a battle at first, but I think we got it now. You know,
Okay, Jay, we're showing them the win from Charlotte. Can you run us through that?
Oh, that was a good race with Jason right there. You know, we both went in, and he had a strong car all day, a couple hundreds quicker than me, and we ran a 54 in the final, which was our best run of the weekend. And you know, when you get up on that starting line, you're trying to kind of fine line, and she's a sharp edge, and he just went overboard.
You know, drag racing is a sport where there's only one winner at the end of the day. NASCAR, you know, if you come in 10th, you have a great day. It seems like you hear from drivers. When you're going through a slump like that, how do you keep from losing the confidence?
God, 72 times, you know, we pulled through that gate, and you just wonder, you know, what does it take to win? And it's like, man, we used to know how to win. What do we need to do? And you just keep working, and you just have confidence, and you just keep going, making runs and gathering information. And, you know, as long as the money holds out, we might be low on budget, but we're not low on knowledge or experience, and that's why we're still here.
It's Stat Guy here. It's Lewis. How you doing? And here's my question. You've won. You've been to finals. Your dad has yet to win a round of racing this season. How can you turn that around? He's never gone a whole season without at least a one-round win for like 30 seasons. I mean, can you make it happen for him?
Well, you know how ornery he is, and he grinds harder than everybody out there. And you know, we basically set his car up like mine at Dallas, and we stumbled a little bit. It wasn't quite exactly the way it was on, you know, the way we like to see it on the computer, but we're thrashing on it. You know, the power's the same in both cars, so both cars should run the same. And you know, we had a little luck over the last couple of races. We'll take that, but you know, he's stubborn, and he's going to find a way to get to the winner's circle pretty soon, I hope.
Well, KJ, we're being told that they're shutting the starting line down for rain. We're watching Rick Stewart right now. Do you remember 2006, your run there? Because we think you still owe us some money off of that one.
2006, where are we at?
Here
in
camera, little camera out in the middle of the track. Huh?
Here in Reading 06. Yeah, here comes the camera. Oh, this place is short, terribly short, and pulled the chutes, and you know that wire on the end, it was about a 1/4 inch from actually coming out, and I hit it 2 or 3 times, and here I go, and I knew I had to put it in a power slide to keep it from, I don't know, God, I thought I was going to be in wherever we're going, Detroit or something, you know, and here we go, and went for a slide, and we actually came back, had a lot of good help the next day, welding that thing together, the rocker panel, the front end, a lot of carbon work, and yeah, that was an experience. I'm on the brakes early here this time.
Well, you actually got the shootout when it was bouncing right before you went in the sand, but that was a little bit too late, I think.
Oh, I think we made the highlights that night.
Oh, you definitely made the highlight. You do that, you'll make the highlights every time. Well, the other thing you could have done is cried in your interview, and you really got some coverage.
You should have been down there for the interview, because he pulled a little Rodney Dangerfield on me. He says, "Hey, your camera dented my hood."
Well, and we tried to weld that camera back together, and it didn't work.
Well, you just took it to the wrong place. You should have took it to our trailer at that time.
Well, Kurt, I got to ask you, too, and I have a theory, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason, I mean, you're starting to run well, but you guys are on a budget, obviously, without the major sponsorship, and normally in the past you always test the wheels off of these cars, and now basically, am I right, you have to test basically during the event, right? And you've just kind of taken a little longer to figure it out?
Yeah, pretty much, and you know that information you gather on Sunday is the most valuable information out there, from the fact that in qualifying on Friday and Saturday, there's 2 runs at 2 different times, and Sunday, you know, you're putting back-to-back runs together consistently every 75 minutes, so that's huge right there. And you know, we haven't tested since April when we had this car, you know, right before Bristol, and that was the last time we tested, and it was huge to go to. We actually tested in Charlotte before the race, so we made 5 runs out there, and that was huge. It takes money to run these cars.
Okay, Jay, thanks for spending the time with us. Currently 11th, and if we get qualifying in on Saturday, I'm sure that'll get even better.
All right, thanks, guys. This is fun.
Thank you very much.
Kurt.
All right.
Well, back on the starting line, whatever the moisture was is apparently no longer an issue, and they're getting ready to run once again. Coming up will be Greg Anderson and Alan Johnson. They're on board with Greg.
Boy, how'd you like to be living with Greg Anderson right now?
You know what? Actually, he says this weekend that he's got to remember how to have fun again. He said, you know, he came into this deal, into the countdown to the championship this year, much different than last year. Last year, he was the underdog. This year, everybody's talking about, you know, how he's running away with it. So he's putting all the pressure on himself, and if he doesn't perform, then you know, it's more pressure on top of himself. So he said this weekend, and he doesn't know how he's going to do it, because it's easier said than done. He said that, and speaking of done, but anyway, he says he's got to remember how to have fun, and that's what he's trying to do right now. And he was a little more lighthearted in the pits today whenever I was chatting with him, and he also said it would help if he could figure out a way to slow Jason Lyne's car down.
Well, they work on each other's cars. Come on now.
Exactly, so that'd be pretty easy to do, right?
Well, they're both doing pretty good, because they both went 6:54.1s. And
again, so close?
Yeah, but so did Mike Edwards. The top 3 in Pro Stock from the first session tied in elapsed time.
How about that?
Mike Edwards is #1 based on speed. Greg Anderson's #2, and Jason Lyne's =3.
Oh, gee, all the 211.
You don't see that very often.
Yeah, all the 211.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's pretty amazing. That tells you how tight, though, Pro Stock is. And when I saw that, I went, God, you know, Jason and Greg ran identical elapsed times again, and forgot all about Mike Edwards. I looked at the list and went, oh, man, that's right. And he ended up #1.
Anderson second, Alan Johnson in 6th coming into this, and it doesn't change with that run. They're going to stay right where they were.
Those onboards were cool. You could see the shift lights in their visors, and they kind of got separated a little bit. Yeah,
watch the shift lights on the onboards up there. You're going to see as they go, and shift light comes on, they pull the gears. We slow it down a little bit for you. And remember, they stagger those based on the driver. Some drivers react a little bit quicker. They'll lead it like maybe 200, 300, 400 RPM based on where they want the drivers to shift, so they pull the gear on time. but looking to shift anywhere from like 10.2 to 10,400 RPM.